Your college basketball weekend is here.
Rise and fire. Count it.
Instant classic.
The slipper still fits. When they need baskets, they go to them. 2 to tie, a 3 will win it.
From Cinderella runs to covering at the buzzer, we've got your winning playbook covered. This is BetQL U with John Martin and RJ Choppy, presented by BetMGM.
Welcome in one last time of the college football. I guess we would say, RJ, the 23-24 college football and college basketball seasons here on BetQL U. We have been with you since week 0 of college football. We have been with you all the way up until the Nets were cut down in Glendale, Arizona last week. Earlier this week. It's all runs together in the NCAA tournament. And this will be our last show, our final show before taking the summer off, a little bit of a hiatus, kind of like when Roman Reigns loses the title, you got to take a little bit of a hiatus, right? And
you got to.
Like Roman Reigns, we'll probably be back around SummerSlam. That is probably about when you would see us again. So listen, RJ, it's been a lot of fun. We'll get to UConn and just their dominant run, their once in a lifetime run, against the spread, certainly in the NCAA tournament. But let's start with some of the news that we've got in college basketball. Maybe one of the most shocking coaching changes we've ever seen in the sport. John Calipari leaving Lexington to go to Arkansas, staying in the same league and succeeding Eric Musselman after the Hogs seemingly reached out to Jerome Tang first, Chris Beard first. That's kind of shocking. But let's talk about it from the Arkansas perspective first, then we'll get to the Kentucky perspective. What do you make of the move for Cal to Fayetteville, and would you bet on him being super successful there?
Super big win. If you're Arkansas, I absolutely think they'll be in a Final Four in the next 5 years. I think the idea that Cal has lost it, I think the main thing people are forgetting is that he is doing this in the COVID super senior 25-year-old era, in the transfer portal era. And his way of getting 18-year-olds has kind of caught up to him in that super senior era. But we're out of that. We're slowly getting out of that. And while the transfer portal still is a big deal, and believe me, I saw their roster this year at Arkansas. They got one player. They'll all be transfer portal guys. He's going to have a bunch of older guys this year. I think that I think the idea that he can't do it anymore is completely it's lost. And I think Kentucky fans are going to feel a lot like Texas Longhorn fans. Maybe not, because they're going to get a good coach, but Texas is like, we can't have Rick Barnes anymore. I mean, well, where's your program at now? It ain't always greener. It isn't always greener. And I think Kentucky fans are going to realize that nobody wants their job. It's too hard. Right now, it is too hard of a job. The amount of people turning this thing down is wild to me. I can't believe they pushed him out. The fan base pushed him out. It's crazy. But from Arkansas's perspective, dude, you got a home run. You are Arkansas. You are a good job that a lot of people forgot about. You got a lot of money that a lot of people overlooked. You've got a really good history that a lot of people forgot about. And this is I love it for them. I am scared to death as a guy who's a fan of a team in the SEC. But,
right,
man, Bud Walton is going to be a problem again.
It is. And look, we'll touch on the Kentucky side in a bit. I lived through that as a Memphian in 2009 when Cal left Memphis. All the emotions and all the swings and all the hopes and dreams and aspirations about who would take the job after he left. I remember how I felt, how everybody felt. It was Scott Drew, just like in 2024, 15 years ago, Scott Drew at Memphis. It was Leonard Hamilton. It was Sean Miller, some of the same names that you're hearing, right? and the interest just isn't there in following Cal for a lot of reasons. Some different, I think, today than when he left Memphis, but still all the same result. For Arkansas, look, I mean, I know he didn't call the Hogs yesterday, but it doesn't fool me. I mean, I think you're getting a super motivated version of John Calipari. He and the AD at Kentucky were, at odds for whatever reason. I think the football school comment or basketball school comment, the lack of facility upgrades, all those things were grating on that relationship. But I would put John Calipari on my Mount Rushmore personally of coaches or athletes who exist really only to stick it to people. And I would put him probably right next to Tom Brady. When he was at Memphis, he wanted to prove to the NBA that he could still do it at a high level. He wanted to prove that he could get good players to Memphis. He wanted to prove to the college basketball aristocrats that he could take a team that plays in Conference USA to a 1 seed. When he took the job at Kentucky, he wanted to prove to people that he wasn't just a guy that did it at a small league. He wanted to show that he could be a blue blood coach. He could win a title there. And now you've lit a fire under him again because you've told him basically with your actions that you think he's washed up. And so now he's going to go to Fayetteville completely reinvigorated, and he's going to come in your building. And if you hire who it looks like you're going to hire, he's going to beat you. That's what Kentucky has created.
Yeah, they've created a tough situation. There's a lot of, I think most schools think their job, most fan bases, most schools think their job is bigger than it is. Right. That ain't Kentucky. Kentucky's got, that is a top tier job. There is no job in the country better. There's others that are on the same level. They're tied with it. But no job is better than Kentucky. No job is bigger than Kentucky. It's as big as it gets. Again, Duke, Carolina, UCLA, Kansas, they're tied. But no job's bigger than Kentucky. And for them, for people to be turning this thing down and turning it down, which would be major steps up, is shocking to me. And I shouldn't be shocked because we've seen this. We've seen schools have tough times hiring guys. We've seen schools be like, man, I don't want that job. I don't want that job. Everybody thought Sean Payton was going to get the Cowboys job, Lincoln Riley. They get Mike McCarthy. Like, nobody, do you really want that job? Do you really want it?
Exactly.
Do you really want the pressure?
Exactly.
Or do you want to live in Waco and be able, perfect example is the photo Scott Drew posted the other day. Or maybe it was an old photo. But if he's the coach of Kentucky, he is not in a Mexican restaurant unbothered. But in Waco, he's just having lunch.
Yep.
With a booster. Enjoying some chips and salsa, man. It's just a different world.
It is. And I think that what makes the Kentucky job great, I think in 2024 is what makes it not attractive.
Frightening.
In the end, Baylor lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament in an upset to Clemson. And I guarantee you that nobody that has any clout or influence at Baylor even thought for 1 second about Scott Drew's job security, right? They lost in the second round. They were a favorite. And I guarantee you that thought never crossed anybody with influence's mind at Baylor. Now, it was the second round. It wasn't the first round. But still, if he goes to Kentucky and if he duplicates his results the last 3 years, which are not making it to the Sweet 16, if those were his first 3 years in Lexington, they'd be calling for him to lose his job. There's just no doubt about it. And,
they would.
And at Baylor, he's got carte blanche because he's won a title, because he wins games, he competes in the Big 12, and they're happy with that. And I think it's a lesson for anybody that happiness with enough money, which he has at $5 million a year, and it'll be more now. But happiness with enough money is always going to defeat potentially compromising that for just a little more, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't risk your happiness for $7 million or $8 million when you already make $5.5 million.
Right.
You have a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, they're gonna build a statue for him at Baylor. Like they will. They'll build when his career is over there and he decides to retire. They're gonna build a statue for him. He brought that school. Okay, Baylor is one of the most remarkable athletic stories of my lifetime in college athletics.
Yeah.
That football program was the absolute worst. And then it got good without Art Briles, and then it had a scandal rivaled only by Penn State. And they came out of that and won a Big 12. Does anybody remember Dave Bliss? Where he helped cover up a murder within his own program? They almost shut the basketball program down. And Scott Drew brought it from there to a national championship. And arguably, I could easily make the case they're the best athletic department in the state of Texas. Easily make that case. What he has done there is nothing short of a miracle, and they'll never fire him. He has complete autonomy. And if he went to Kentucky, he starts over. And I don't know that he wants that. Obviously, he doesn't.
Exactly. And you know who else is not going to want it? Billy Donovan's not going to want it. Why on earth would you leave the NBA if you have job security? And I know he's not winning as much there, but Chicago has a notorious long leash with their coaches and athletes there. They will support losers. We know that. Why would you want to leave that, for the friggin' gauntlet that is NIL and transfer portal? You don't. Mm-hmm. It ain't hey, Billy, it's like when Del Curry got divorced, right? Brother, you don't want to get back out in these streets. It ain't like that anymore. It's different now, Del.
Yeah.
It's different.
Trust me.
So
I was in those streets not too long ago after my divorce. You don't want it. You have no idea what you're getting into. No idea.
Go home, Del. Stay where it's good, man.
Home. Go home. So, put up with it.
I think
deal with it.
That's again,
they're in control now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the next coach for the University of Kentucky, these are offshore odds to be totally clear. Billy Donovan plus 220, Tommy Lloyd plus 500, Mark Pope 9-1. Again, I assume that these numbers have changed. TJ Otzelberger, Iowa State 9-1, Bruce Pearl 15-1, Rick Pitino, interesting, at 20-1. It feels like at this point, if they don't get Billy Donovan, they're going to go the Mark Pope direction. So what do you make of that, going from Cal to a coach who has never won a tournament game?
Man, as a Tennessee alum, this would make me so happy. Nothing against Mark Pope. I couldn't tell you anything about Mark Pope other than the fact that I think he softed out with the horns down thing. I think that was garbage when they made him take the shirts off at BYU. But you do not know, this guy will have no chance. The vitriol of Cats fans. If they thought they were going to go from Dan Hurley to Scott Drew to Chris Beard to whoever, and they settle on Mark Pope from BYU, they will lose their minds. You're better off just doing what Boogie Cousins said, hire Rondo. You're better off doing that, man. You cannot, if you're Kentucky, go from Danny Hurley to Billy Donovan to Scott Drew and then say, nope, we're going with Mark Pope. That is Derek Dooley. That's what that is. That is Derek Dooley written all over again.
How about that? Derek Dooley reference in 2024.
Right?
Very impressive.
Jeremy Pruitt. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I can't disagree. I hate it. And I also, again, I feel like if you're a Kentucky fan today and you ran off Cal just to settle on Mark Pope, You played yourself. You played yourself.
You did.
I know it wasn't perfect. But like Mark Pope is not going to get the players that Cal got, okay? It ain't going to be an NBA pipeline. It ain't going to be La Familia. It's going to be mediocrity, most likely. You could say that it's BYU and who succeeds at BYU if you want, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble either way. And why gamble when you had a sure thing? I think that's the piece of it that I don't think Kentucky fans are prepared for. Anyway, we'll come back. We'll get into the run by UConn, the historic run as they are crowned back-to-back champs with their win over Purdue. We'll get into all of that and a lot more on the other side. You're watching BetQL U on the BetQL Network. We'll be back after this.
You've been listening to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Chelsea, earlier in the show, we were talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. One thing I do need is I need a hobby. I need a new hobby. That's one of my goals. And I was thinking maybe I should retake up golf again. I used to play golf all the time, and I was decent at it. I was never going to blow anyone's mind, but I was pretty good. Now, I am summarily terrible. I suck at the game of golf now. But if you're going to commit to playing golf, you got to commit, and it's hard for me because I live right in the middle of the city, so I'd have to get myself some new clubs, have to start practicing, find some unis around the city, and I could do it, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So you are someone, you can swing a club, you live right there on a golf course. Can you talk me into getting back into golf?
No, because it's a hobby that's very expensive, and it takes a ton of time. This is why women get so mad at their husbands for playing golf. It is not because we hate golf. It's because it takes, on the low end, 5 hours. And then you have to go to the driving range before, get some swings in. Then you want to get some beers with your boys after the round. So it just turns into an all-day affair. And I guess, like, you don't have kids or any, like, thing tying you down. Like, you don't have a pet at home, or I guess you have Bijou, but, you know, cats don't need to be taken out all the time. So I think that's the knock on golf, is that it just takes so damn long. So maybe there is another hobby that is less time, time
consuming.
What's the opposite of time consuming? That you could pick up that also does not cost a fortune. Because I don't know if you've looked at the prices of golf clubs. They're not cheap for the good ones.
No. Well, that's the problem too, is that's why I said, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this, because if you're going to spend that money, I don't want to do it and then have my clubs collect dust in my closet or anything like that. I think what you should do is you can swing. Your husband obviously plays golf. You get Blake a little starter set. Next thing you know, family golf outing.
Oh, we do have clubs for her.
There you go.
But it's just, again, golf takes forever. And also, it is the middle of January, or the 1st of January. It feels like the middle of January. So it's not the greatest weather for playing golf when it's 37 degrees out. So maybe this spring.
All right. Well, keep that in mind. Maybe it'll happen. I'll keep track for you.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. No one brings the wow factor like the BetQL Network.
When did that happen?
Today.
And instantly,
Yes.
the crowd goes wild.
We celebrate the women of wagertainment.
Welcome back to BetQL Daily, presented by BetMGM.
Well, I did the right strategy there. Set you up for just complimenting me.
You know what? I get that.
Never miss a minute of the action. Download the BetQL app to take us anywhere you go and watch all of the shows on Twitch TV/BetQL. Presented by the Kings of Sportsbooks. BetMGM. Let's get back to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM.
All right, we're back. BetQL, as you guys know, on the BetQL network. This is BetQL U. We've been here since the very beginning of the college football season. We have been here crowning a college football champ in Michigan as Jim Harbaugh rolls on to the NFL. We have been here to crown a college basketball champion, who is UConn, a second straight year. And it feels very rare, RJ, where we go into a season, and I want to believe that UConn was just a pretty popular pick. It was a pretty consensus pick that UConn would do it again, that they would win the title again. And it's very rare that people, sort of come together collectively and believe that, and then it actually happens. It's very rarely that easy. But for this UConn team, it absolutely seemed to be 75-60. That's their second straight national championship. It's their sixth national championship since 1999. So what a run, man. If you're a UConn fan, you've been drowning in championship rings over the last 25 years or so. What did you think of the game as it played out? Did you ever have any thought that Purdue would keep it close?
Yeah, maybe like mid first half. Maybe even into just before halftime. I thought there was a chance because one of the main parts to UConn's run when they really took off this year was Donovan Clingan, and he didn't have a great game. He wasn't fantastic in this game. So yeah, I thought there was a time where sure I could see Purdue staying in this thing, but I'll tell you this: I bet UConn just about every way you can imagine. But yeah, I was not surprised at the result, but I did think at some point in late first half, yeah, I could see Purdue staying in this.
Yeah, I just have never seen a team in any sport that's covered with the consistency of this UConn team. I don't know what they did in the regular season. I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like they covered most of their games that they won in the regular season as well. I don't know. I don't know if it's Clingan. I don't know if it's the combination of, but this team is one of the most. It's up there with like Brady. And I don't even think Brady covered like this with the Pats in those runs.
I don't know, man. Brady covered at like an insanely high rate. He was like 60% for his career. More than that.
Was he? Okay. I think probably there in the early years of the Patriots dynasty, I could see it. But what made this so impressive from the UConn perspective is that they weren't dogs. They weren't like 3-point underdogs, 4-point underdogs.
Right.
That's why I kind of thought about the Mahomes playoff run, but Mahomes was a dog every single week. So it's different. This UConn team was a 7.5-point favorite. They were an 11.5-point favorite. They were a 26.5-point favorite. You name the week, they were laying a lot of points, and they covered every single game, 12 straight games in the NCAA tournament. It's never happened. And RJ, I'll tell you this, it's never going to happen again.
Nope. No, it won't, because we don't see very many back-to-back champs anyway. And when you do, they're going to have a slip up. I don't think that UNLV team, the one that won the title. So the first year was it 90. They only won their Sweet 16 game by 2. It was 69-67. They may have played Michigan State. I can't remember who it was. But even they didn't blow everybody out like this. This is just utter dominance. And I could sit here and tell you how annoying Dan Hurley is, and I just don't like him at all. But the results are in, and that's all. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. And you can. There are people within your family that you can look at and make, man, I just don't like them, but they're your family, and that's what UConn fans the guy wins, dude. You have to give this whole team credit, and I don't like UConn at all. I don't like UConn basketball. That is, they have joined. They have joined the blue blood. Now, I don't know who you kick out. I don't know what team you kick out of the blue blood crowd, but they've joined it. You can't keep them out anymore. And I don't know that you could have kept them out coming into this year. It's what they have done is so amazing. So amazing. They just won. They won just random titles. In the last 15 years, they just won 2 random titles with Kemba and Shabazz. They weren't even close. Yeah. Just random titles just thrown in there. You got programs like Alabama who made their first Final Four. Meanwhile, UConn's winning a random title where they win 11 games in 20 days. It's just crazy. But that's what they do. It's a great program.
Yeah, I heard Otani's interpreter faded UConn every game of the last 2 tournaments. That's how he got into the hole.
Big time. Good gosh.
When I saw the details today, by the way, about that, it's shocking. It's shocking.
Did he? How do you lose that much money in wagers?
Dude, the worst sports bettors are 47%.
Yeah.
The worst. And he was 22%.
22%.
He was trying to lose it.
There's so much more to this, though. There's so much more to this. I don't know. There's no bookies giving that a guy making $300,000 that kind of a line of credit. There's way more of this that we got to find out. We ain't going to find out, but we got to. There's so much more.
Again, if I was bookmaking and I saw this sucker coming in and he told me he knew Otani and he kept losing and he was paying, you can have whatever you want, brother. You could have you can fade the Huskies every damn round if you want to, man. Hey, you need more? No problem. Just make sure that payment hits on Tuesday. All right, we can keep this party going forever if you want. So I've never wanted to be a bookie until I knew that there were guys like Mizuhara that were using their connection. Anyway, that's sort of neither here nor there. But yes, I'm with you. I like Hurley's antics to me are I think they're way too much. Like him barking at Zach Edey as Edey was walking off the floor there in the first half, I thought was just really uncalled for. Because what do you just he's not allowed to say something back to you, or you just don't think he would, or I thought it was very unprofessional. You can have your aggression with a ref because a ref can do something, right? A ref can tee you up and throw you out, and you guys can have your thing. But I don't appreciate his antics on the sideline, how he lives and dies with every call. But his players seem to respond to it, RJ, and they have for 2 years now. And I watched Penny Hardaway beat him twice in his first 2 years, and I remember thinking, what's all the hubbub about Dan Hurley? I remember thinking that, and to see that he's gone from that in the AAC to taking off like he has in the Big East, it's an unbelievable rise.
Best thing they ever did was get out of the AAC. It brought energy back to the program, brought fans back.
Yep.
I mean,
True.
fans can't get up for Tulsa on a Tuesday night. But Georgetown comes into town. Even though Georgetown stinks, they can still get up for it. It's it just brought back a lot. Yeah, they belonged in the Big East. They were not, just recognize who you are. They don't need a football program. They don't need one. They're a basketball school, man. Just like Duke. You can pretend all you want that you got a football program. Carolina, same thing. Pretend all you want you got a football program. You know what you are. You know where your money goes. You got a $24 million budget at UConn. That's a football budget. That's a football budget.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I heard them talking on the BetMGM Tonight show here on BetQL U about what's going to be or on BetQL Network, excuse me. What's going to be harder? What would be harder? A Kansas City three-peat or a UConn three-peat? And to me, it's not even a question. Like, to me, it's by far UConn doing this for a third straight time. Like, they're having to replace so much. Klingen's gone, Newton's gone, Castle's gone. They were able to get away with it a year ago because you were bringing back Newton and Klingen, and you were bringing in Castle. They were fortunate in that regard. They will not be as fortunate this time. They will have to replace a lot. But 2 straight titles, man. Like, you got 2 titles out of that. That's amazing. Any fan base in the world would take that.
Yeah, it's easily UConn would be more difficult because they don't have Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's the other part of it. Is that the Kansas City knows that for the next X amount of years, they've got the guy. They have the guy that all others fear, and that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. UConn, their transfer portal class could come in and be terrible, not mesh well. We've seen that before. We saw it with Arkansas, saw it with Memphis this year. They had good portal classes. Didn't work. So it would. You could. All these schools. You have no idea with this portal world we were in. Like, I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't even know who's going to be on Tennessee's team next year. I know a couple of guys like the mainstays, but I have no idea who's filling out the roster. You got every school's got departures. Some to the NBA, some to the portal. You don't know who's coming in, and you don't know how the guys coming in are going to work with the guys you already got. So it's a wild world. Wow.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's why you hear, Izzo complaining, but it's a sacrifice that you're no doubt willing to make. If you get a couple titles out of it. And again, I think what UConn showed in the last 2 years with their just sheer dominance is that the portal is something that you indulge but you don't get full on, if that makes sense. Newton had multiple years. Klingen was a freshman. Castle was a freshman. Caravan was a freshman last year. You bring in a guy like Cam Spencer with 1 year left as a shooter, as a specialist, but by and large, that team had been together for at least 2 seasons. And I think they kind of showed you the blueprint. You still have to develop these kids. You still have to build a chemistry. And, again, they maximized it. I don't think in this day and age of the transfer portal, like, not only will we not see a team that covers, I think that's, like, truly, we will look back at this UConn team as a relic. Yeah, like, we will look back at them as a relic in an age where there's so much turnover, there's so much moving, coming, and going, and yet this UConn team was able to win. And this, like, that Florida team that did it in 06-07, that's the last team that did it. They brought back every starter, right? Yeah. They brought back every single guy from the previous team. That is not what UConn did. UConn had to replace a lottery pick in Jordan Hawkins. They had to replace a guy that got on the floor on Wednesday night in Andre Jackson Jr. They had to replace a guy in Adama Sanogo who was a draft pick. They had to replace 3 pros in the transfer portal, and they did it, and they've got another title out of it. It's just insane, man.
And they were arguably better. You can argue they were better this year
in some ways.
Yeah, and Yeah, and Dan Hurley, he just I don't know what Bobby did to him as a kid, but he wants to ruin your day. He wants to beat you and then beat you while he's beating you. It really is remarkable what they've done. It's the best program going right now. They'll probably get whoever they want in the portal, assuming they have the money for it, and they do. Their budget's high. I don't know who's stopping them. I really don't. It ain't going to be Kentucky this year. They don't even know who their coach is. So I don't know. I can't for the life of me think that them repeating again, that would probably be the most remarkable 3-year sports run I've seen. It's because you could. I mean, it is not a best of 7 series. It is a one and done. It is the most fickle tournament there is, and to go through that and not even sweat past the 10-minute mark of the second half in any of those games throws you for a loop mentally. It threw me for a loop, man. It really did.
No question about it. So, yeah, a salute, no question about it, to the UConn Huskies who walked the walk all season long and finished their story, as Cody Rhodes would say. There's no doubt about that. All right, we'll come back. We'll preview a little bit of next year, a look ahead to next year in college basketball, and a look ahead to college football in 2024. So there's still a lot more to come here on what's going to be the final show of the 23-24 season of BetQL U. We started with 3. We're going to end with 2. That's show business, baby. We'll come back, wrap this up one last time on BetQL U. Be back after this.
You've been listening to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app. Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. No one brings the wow factor like the BetQL Network.
When did that happen?
Today.
And instantly,
Yes.
the crowd goes wild.
We celebrate the women of wagertainment.
Welcome back to BetQL Daily, presented by BetMGM.
Well, I did the right strategy there. Set you up for just complimenting me.
You know what? I get that.
Never miss a minute of the action. Download the BetQL app to take us anywhere you go and watch all of the shows on Twitch TV/BetQL. Presented by the Kings of Sportsbooks, BetMGM. No one brings the wow factor like the BetQL network.
When did that happen?
Today.
And instantly,
Yes.
the crowd goes wild.
We celebrate the women of wagertainment.
Welcome back to BetQL Daily, presented by BetMGM.
Ooh, I did the right strategy there. Set you up for just complimenting me.
You know what? I get that.
Never miss a minute of the action. Download the BetQL app to take us anywhere you go and watch all of the shows on Twitch TV/BetQL. Presented by the Kings of Sportsbooks. BetMGM.
Chelsea, earlier in the show, we were talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. One thing I do need is I need a hobby. I need a new hobby. That's one of my goals. And I was thinking maybe I should retake up golf again. I used to play golf all the time, and I was decent at it. I was never going to blow anyone's mind, but I was pretty good. Now, I am summarily terrible. I suck at the game of golf now. But if you're going to commit to playing golf, you got to commit, and it's hard for me because I live right in the middle of the city, so I'd have to get myself some new clubs, have to start practicing, find some unis around the city, and I could do it, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So you are someone, you can swing a club, you live right there on a golf course. Can you talk me into getting back into golf?
No, because it's a hobby that's very expensive and it takes a ton of time. This is why women get so mad at their husbands for playing golf. It is not because we hate golf. It's because it takes, on the low end, 5 hours. And then you have to go to the driving range before, get some swings in. Then you want to get some beers with your boys after the round. So it just turns into an all-day affair. And I guess, like, you don't have kids or any, like, thing tying you down. Like, you don't have a pet at home, or I guess you have Bijou, but, you know, cats don't need to be taken out all the time.
Let's get back to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM.
All right, welcome back to BetQL U here on the BetQL network. I'm John Martin. He's RJ Choppy. One last call, man. One last go around of the 2023-24 season for us. And with any luck, we'll be back next year talking all things college football. Thanks to those of you that have been riding with us this year. We've appreciated all of that. Having the chance every week to break down the slate of games in college football and obviously the look aheads on college basketball. It's been an honor and a privilege. So I appreciate you guys having us here on the BetQL network throughout the season. Let's look ahead though, RJ, to next year. The question is very simple. If you were to submit one bet right now to win the national championship in football, and we'll get to basketball in a minute, who would it be? Who would it be in college football right now? And it's really early. Spring's just getting underway, but who do you like next year? Call your shot.
I have never done this before, and I promise I will never do it again. But hook 'em.
Wow.
Hook 'em. They got the best quarterback in the country that you can today. They do. And that's why. They got a good team. They've got a pedigree that has been a lot of these guys have been to the game, to the Final Four. I think that plays a big part of it. That monkey is a little bit off Sark's back. I absolutely think Quinn Ewers is a legitimate NFL quarterback. He's got his problems. Okay, there's some things that he doesn't do great, but he's gotten better since he's gotten to Texas. If he gets hurt, find me a better backup than Arch. Even though I have heard whispers they're a little scared at his development. Little scared, or lack of development, I should say. But give me Texas, man. Like today, yeah, give me Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like, I mean, Georgia plus 350.
I mean, that's going out on a limb there. I see.
I know, but it's like they're going to win the title next year. You know, they're bringing back their QB. You know, they're bringing back Carson Beck. They're going to be pissed off from last year that they didn't make the college football playoff. You know, Alabama has a new coach, so you know who in the SEC is going to push them. LSU has to replace Jaden Daniels. You know, I mean, who do we think tests Georgia at all? Like, if you were to say.
That's a great question.
Like, who's going to put? Like, who has a chance? Who has a chance? Like, what's A&M got? Does A&M have anything going?
No. I mean, Georgia does go to Alabama this year. They do go to Texas.
Okay.
I mean, look, their schedule.
All right, that's fair. Okay, so
hang on. And they do play Clemson. They do play Clemson.
Yeah, that's tough.
What?
Yeah.
You what?
I was just saying I got to get used to the realignment, right? Like I forgot that this is Texas's first year in the SEC.
Right.
So, you know, that is a game changer a little bit.
Here's their schedule. Now, I assume this is a neutral site game. It's August 31st, but it says at Clemson. I assume that's neutral site. So they play Clemson. They go to Alabama in September. They host Auburn. They go to Texas. They go to they played Florida. Then they go at Ole Miss and home to Tennessee. Like, that's not easy. There's a loss in there. For a normal program, there's a loss in there. Now, I don't know if that's a normal program, but that's a tough spot, man. That's a tough schedule.
It is. But, I mean, my God, if there's any team in America that's, you know, built for that, it's definitely the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know, like Ohio State, like quarterback uncertainty, Oregon replacing Bo Nix. Ole Miss never has the defense, you know, at 11-1. Yeah, Jackson Dart's coming back, but Lane Kiffin's not going to have a defense that's good enough to win a championship. Bama, new coach, impossible to know. You know, Michigan starting over completely. LSU starting over at quarterback. Florida State starting over at quarterback. I mean, Drew Aller at Penn State, you know, at 25-1, maybe. You know, maybe there's a shot there. But I don't see a lot of value. I think sort of if it's somebody besides Georgia or Texas, I'll be pretty shocked, RJ. I'll be honest with you. Like, just sitting down and looking at it today, I'll be pretty surprised if it's somebody that's not those two teams.
I could see that. I mean, look, there's a handful of teams that kind of separate themselves. I remember this is a 12-teamer this year, so we're going to find, you know,
right.
You may find it's going to be impossible, like for Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State
right.
to not find themselves in the Final Four, in the Final 12 in the tournament. Like, they're going to be in it. The question is Ole Miss in it? Is USC in it? Is Oregon? Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, like who is the other ones? We know who's going to be in it every year. They're too good of programs. They're always in the top 6 or 8. They're going to wind up being in it every year. It's just a matter of who joins them.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's obviously a huge wrinkle. That the new system is a huge wrinkle in, you know, betting the futures, right? We've never seen this. We've never seen, you know, what it's going to look like when you have additional games, more teams. You know, it's usually just the 2 games. So this will be a little different. a lot different. So I'll be interested to see, I probably won't have many futures going into this season because I don't know what to expect. Like, is this going to be a deal where the top teams benefit? Is it going to be a deal where they don't? I'll just have to see. My guess is that they will because the other teams will just be beating themselves up the whole time, right? I mean, this isn't basketball where, if you get your feet under you, you get into a rhythm, you're ready to play, you're taking a damn beating on the football field. And if you don't play, that's a good thing.
Oh, that is. And wrapping up a division title, they don't really have divisions that much anymore, but wrapping up basically a spot in a conference championship game, you really put yourself in a position where you can rest guys. I do think, I wonder, if you're going into, let's say this year, right, the SEC championship game, it was like 1 versus 5, right? Bama or 2 versus 5 with Bama and Georgia. What's the motivation for either team playing any of their guys in that game? There's none.
Totally agree.
And I think you're going to see the same thing. Yeah, I think you're going to see the same thing. And, you'll see teams.
Something will
yes,
suffer.
Something will suffer. And you may see teams, picking somebody off easier because of that. Now you got bid stealers. So let's say Georgia's number 1 in the country and they go into the SEC championship game and they're playing it's a wild year. They play a 4-loss Auburn team, and Auburn beats them. You mean to tell me you're going to put that 4-loss Auburn team into the top 12 and you're going to knock a 1 or 2-loss team out? That's what's going to happen, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
we'll
see. I can't wait. That's going to be an interesting dilemma, no doubt about it. All right, on to college basketball. UConn the favorite, 10-1, followed by Duke, Kansas, Houston, North Carolina. It's really hard right now, RJ, to weigh in on a college basketball future because the portal is still just getting started. We have basically a month left of that thing being open, so it's impossible to know who's going to end up where. But if you were going to place a college basketball future, is there anywhere you'd look?
Houston, I think. I think Houston's a good spot. They return enough of their players. I do wonder, I like Iowa State a lot. And I know, with the portal, it's tough to say that, but I think they're a well-coached team. And they get players. They don't get, the top 10 draft pick players. I think it could be a sneaky team, though. The conference is going to get a little easier, right? Conference is going to get a little easier to play in, so that their seed might be a little bit better. And that might give them a boost. I think if I was to take a flyer on a 20-1 or longer shot, Iowa State might be that team.
Yeah, Houston is interesting. I really like them to because they lost Jamal Shedd, brought back Cryer. I would really like to see them get a John L. Davis type. If they got a John L. Davis in there running the point, now he doesn't guard. And that may be a problem with Kelvin Sampson. But he is a hell of a lead guard. And if they landed him, you could absolutely talk me into it. But look, again, it's like I have no idea how any of this stuff is going to shake out. So what's not a bad bet to me? Arkansas at 40-1. Let's go. He's going to get a roster in there. He's going to get a good roster in there. It's going to be good players. He's going to be motivated. It can happen overnight in college basketball, right? Like, it doesn't have to take 3 to 4 years anymore. You get the right mix in there, you can take off in year 1. And again, he's got a fire under his ass in this situation. And so I think he's gonna get some really good players. He's got all the NIL money in the world from the Walton and Tyson family. So I think this is absolutely this is good value. I don't know if it's still 40-1, but if it is, RJ, I think that might be a way to look.
I totally agree. I think it absolutely is. I love the idea. I didn't even think of it because I was just rolling down teams and I didn't even think to put them there. I think it absolutely is a good one.
Well, that's going to be our last good one of the regular season here, RJ. It's been an honor and a privilege working with you all year long, man. It's been a fun time. Hope we can run this thing back next season.
Yes.
But in the meantime, in between time, thanks to all of you who've tuned in with us. Thanks to Chris Mack. We lost a fallen soldier mid-season. We powered through in your name, buddy. And we still love you. Absolutely. But thanks to RJ Choppy. Thanks to Zach Kroll. Thanks to Dan Turner all season long who've been working with us here and making us look good and making the show is what it is. Make it go off. So we appreciate that. And again, all of you. So one last time for RJ Choppy, I am John Martin. Thanks for tuning in to BetQL U on the BetQL Network, and we'll see you next season.
You've been listening to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Chelsea, earlier in the show, we were talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. One thing I do need is I need a hobby. I need a new hobby. That's one of my goals. And I was thinking maybe I should retake up golf again. I used to play golf all the time, and I was decent at it. I was never going to blow anyone's mind, but I was pretty good. Now, I am summarily terrible. I suck at the game of golf now. But if you're going to commit to playing golf, you got to commit, and it's hard for me because I live right in the middle of the city, so I'd have to get myself some new clubs, have to start practicing, find some unis around the city, and I could do it. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So you are someone, you can swing a club. You live right there on a golf course. Can you talk me into getting back into golf?
No, because it's a hobby that's very expensive and it takes a ton of time. This is why women get so mad at their husbands for playing golf. It is not because we hate golf. It's because it takes, on the low end, 5 hours. And then you have to go to the driving range before, get some swings in. Then you want to get some beers with your boys after the round. So it just turns into an all-day affair. And I guess, like, you don't have kids or any, like, thing tying you down. Like, you don't have a pet at home, or I guess you have Bijou, but, you know, cats don't need to be taken out all the time. So I think that's the knock on golf, is that it just takes so damn long. So maybe there is another hobby that is less time, time
consuming.
What's the opposite of time consuming? You know, that you could pick up that also does not cost a fortune. Because I don't know if you've looked at the prices of golf clubs. They're not cheap for the good ones.
No. Well, that's the problem too, is that's why I said, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this, because if you're going to spend that money, I don't want to do it and then have my clubs collect dust in my closet or anything like that. I think what you should do is you can swing. Your husband obviously plays golf. You get Blake a little starter set. Next thing you know, family golf outing.
Oh, we do have clubs for her.
There you go.
But it's just, again, golf takes forever. And also, it is the middle of January, or the 1st of January. It feels like the middle of January. So it's not the greatest weather for playing golf when it's 37 degrees out. So maybe this spring.
All right. Well, keep that in mind. Maybe it'll happen. I'll keep track for you.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. No one brings the wow factor like the BetQL Network.
When did that happen?
Today.
And instantly, the crowd goes wild.
We celebrate the women of wagertainment.
Welcome back to BetQL Daily, presented by BetMGM.
Well, I did the right strategy there. Set you up for just complimenting me.
You know what? I get that.
Never miss a minute of the action. Download the BetQL app to take us anywhere you go, and watch all of the shows on Twitch TV/BetQL. Presented by the Kings of Sportsbooks. BetMGM.